Because you're friends, aren't you?
Of course. I mean, this wasn't, my favorite moment of our friendship.
Larry David is using his pen to point out what he sees as Bill Maher's misguided meal with the president and his even more misguided monologue.
Just for starters, he laughs. I've never seen him laugh in public.
I don't need to be lectured on who Donald Trump is. Just the fact that I met him in person didn't change that.
He's Hitler. He's a monster. But I eventually concluded that hate gets us nowhere. I knew I couldn't change his views, but we needed to talk to the other side, even if it had invaded and annexed other countries and committed unspeakable crimes against humanity. And I realized I'd never seen him laugh before. Suddenly, he seemed so human.
To use the Hitler thing, first of all, I just think it's kind of insulting to 6 million
Yes.
dead. I just think it's kind of insulting to 6 million
Yes.
dead Jews, like that should kind of be in its own place in history. And, I know people can say, well, we're just comparing it in this way. Well, it's an argument you kind of lost just to start it. It's just, look, maybe it's not completely logically fair, but Hitler has really kind of got to stay in his own place. He is the goat of evil, and we're just going to have to, I think, leave it like that. So,
Larry David just made what might be the biggest mistake of his career, and now the entire GOP is jumping in, tearing him apart piece by piece. On a recent show, Bill Maher and Piers Morgan joined forces and completely exposed the double standards and hypocrisy Larry David and much of the left have been pushing right in front of everyone. They didn't hold back, calling out the fake outrage, the shifting narratives, and the way the woke crowd keeps trying to twist reality. And trust me, what you're about to see is just the start. You won't want to miss a second of it.
Think that I have somehow this importance, which I plainly don't. It's ridiculous. I was offered a chance to actually sit down for an extended period of time in a private setting with the one person who has dominated all of our lives, whether you like him or not, for the last 10 years. That's just not deniable. I took it. I can't imagine why anybody wouldn't take it. Just can I see the Trumpadopoulos up close? I'm going to get to see it, and then the only thing that bugs me about it is they don't give me proper credit for it. And then I went back to my day job, tearing him a new asshole, and never stopped before the dinner, never stopped after the dinner, and during. Because I said lots of things to him that you would think liberals would love that a guy said right to his face. You didn't win the election, and birtherism was vile, and what? I said to him, you're scaring people. Why do you want to scare people so much? So, I haven't changed at all, and the fact that it made so many people hysterical, not most people, by the way. I mean, I've certainly heard from zillions, and it's mostly very positive, but there are some people.
The most surprising reactions came from Larry David himself, who's supposed to be a longtime friend of Bill Maher. Even though Bill made it clear that he's still very much a liberal, the woke crowd didn't buy it for a second. They never do. Instead of listening, they just dug in even deeper, sticking to the same ideas and strategies that have been backfiring on them all along. It's like they refuse to learn, even when the truth is staring them right in the face.
Isn't, my favorite moment of our friendship, but, look, I don't want to get in too much into that, but I think the minute you play the Hitler card,
that's what I think.
You've lost the argument.
Yes.
And also, I must say, come on, man. Hitler, Nazis, nobody has been harder about and more prescient, I must say, about Donald Trump than me. I don't need to be lectured on who Donald Trump is. Just the fact that I met him in person didn't change that. And the fact that I reported honestly is not a sin either. But, to use the Hitler thing, first of all, I just think it's kind of insulting to 6 million dead Jews, like that should kind of be in its own place in history. And, I know people can say, well, we're just comparing it in this way. Well, It's an argument you kind of lost just to start it. It's just, look, maybe it's not completely logically fair, but Hitler has really kind of got to stay in his own place. He is the goat of evil.
And that's exactly why the Democrats are losing their minds over it. Because deep down, they know we've never seen this kind of honest conversation happen with their own presidents. Bill Maher simply having dinner with Trump was enough to set them off. But what really pushed them over the edge was him coming back and exposing all the secrets they've tried so hard to keep buried. That's what made them snap, and now they're scrambling, trying to figure out how to control the damage.
Their ideas of purity are so unrealistic, if nothing else, in a country where, Trump did win 2 elections.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't write off. I know I saw it after the election. There was a lot of people who, some I know and some are friends, but their whole attitude was, we're a bad country. That's what it is. We have nothing to be sorry about with the way we ran our election, or it's just, we thought the country was full of good people, and they're actually full of really shitty, horrible people. Deplorables, that whole thing, calling them and thinking of them as deplorable. And I just don't think of a Trump voter as necessarily deplorable. He could be, absolutely. And so could someone who voted for Kamala Harris be deplorable in their own way. Now, it's also not equivalent. I make no fuzz on it all the time. I'm very clear about it. I think the right is more dangerous. I think what's going on in this country is a shit show. I mean, shout out to my writers, because we have been as hard on Trump as we ever have. The stuff we do, I mean, if you think I'm the guy to avoid because I'm not going to be hard on Trump now, you're missing actually still, excuse my immodesty, the sharpest, hardest, funniest taking down of MAGA Nation and the right. And, the thing is, I'll also do it on the left but they're not in power now. So they're not getting as much from me, as they shouldn't.
Did you hear from Trump after your monologue after the dinner?
I'm not going to comment on any of that. I mean,
I'll take that as a yes.
I mean,
This is exactly how you should speak, in my opinion. Look, not all of us have agreed with everything Bill Maher has said over the years, but there are definitely some things we share with him, especially when he looks back and calls out the Democrats for completely losing it over Trump and pushing endless race and gender propaganda. If the Democrats keep going down this path, there's soon going to be no one left on the left willing to speak the truth anymore. It'll just be an echo chamber of pure insanity.
Both sides say that when they lose it. He's not my president. Well, you know what? I'm sorry, precious, but we don't get our own personal president in America. We have elections, and one guy wins, and he legit, I'm sorry, won twice. And by the way, the time he didn't win, I said to his face, you didn't win.
Yeah.
You'd think a liberal would love that somebody did that to the president. You'd think that would be like nothing for that? Nothing?
I completely agree.
It's crazy.
I told you privately, and
crazy.
I said it on air. I think you did exactly what you should have done. And this idea that you can't is indicative of the mindset, to me, of why the left has got itself into such a problem.
And again,
especially with Trump, because they don't seem to know how to take him on. Like, what I'm looking for is not someone that just screams at Trump all day and calls him Hitler, but somebody who actually presents a compelling argument to the American people of how it could be different. That is a compelling enough thing where they want to vote for them.
My answer can just be summed up in 4 words. As opposed to what?
Yes.
As opposed to what is you don't have the court, you don't have the Senate, you lost the House, you lost everything. You lost everything with your stupid boutique issues and your insistence that Joe Biden was a handsome young triathlete who was completely capable of functioning for another term. So now and not having a primary, and so now you have nothing. You have nothing. I said it last week. It's that scene in the movie where they're having a gunfight and then click, click. Oh shit, there's no bullets. I've seen them. Sometimes they throw the gun at the person. Like they throw the gun because they don't have enough bullets.
And just keep this in mind. Losing everything and having nothing left should be a moment to sit quietly and reflect. Not scream at the people who actually have things figured out. But the Democrats just keep yelling at anyone in this country who still has a shred of common sense. Instead of learning from their mistakes, they attack. And that's exactly why they keep falling further and further behind.
I totally agree. He's totally in the right to do it. And I loved his monologue. Even though I disagree with most everything he believes politically, he was right to do this and he was right to speak out about it. But this isn't about that dinner. It's about the next one, because this is the modern left. It's an attempt always to intimidate people into not ever doing it again. It's to silence yourselves, or we'll do it for you. That's the purpose of this op-ed, so that the next comedian or the next person on the American left chooses not to speak to Donald Trump. This is all an effort to get people not to do what you just said, which is to talk to each other and our political leaders.
What Scott Jennings said here is absolutely true, and honestly, you can feel it. More and more people are waking up to the reality that these wokies aren't the ones who should be trusted. The mask is slipping, and no amount of yelling, crying, or outrage is going to cover up the truth anymore.
Different planets, obviously, on the spiritual religious stuff. But when you spoke against the woke, that for me was a proving moment. And I have to say something, and this is 100% true. You had more moral courage than pastors that I know that went along with the woke crazy train. And you deserve credit for that, because it was of high cost.
Until we get rid of that shit, they're never going to win another election.
I agree. They're not going to take political advice from me.
No, but they might from me.
They could.
And
they should. But
not the 10%, but that's 10%.
But they're very loud.
They're very loud, but that's it. And I, as FDR once said, I welcome their hatred, because first of all, they have no integrity. They don't ever present the full argument. They just cherry pick. I mean, everybody does it to everybody. So I'm not saying I'm unique here, but that is part of the problem of our discourse, is that everybody just wants to forward their narrative. No one is really interested in the full truth. Just the truth. Just give me the truth. And that's the crowd I'm going for.
Yes.
Because I'm supposed to get on the short bus to Crazy Town with them, and I won't. And yet I'm still a liberal, and still we probably could argue all day about Donald Trump and what he's doing, which I'm not down with. But, it's always the people who are closest who think, oh gosh, you shouldn't have. You're a traitor somehow.
I was going to ask, is it because they thought you were one of them, and that
I am one of them? They're not one of me. Okay. It's the liberals who have.
So they've left you, not you left.
Yeah. Well, I
think
I feel like there's liberal and woke are two completely different things. It was the theme of my last stand-up special that I just did a few months ago, and it's basically. I mean, it wasn't the whole special, of course, but it was a large part of it devoted to that, to proving that case that, what liberals believe, woke is something completely different. It's very often the opposite of it. Liberalism is, let's live in a colorblind society. That's the goal. Woke's goal is, we see race everywhere.
Race obsession.
Yes. Okay. So that's not liberal. You changed. Liberal is, they're a two-state solution. Woke is river to the sea. Okay. So just don't take my word and say you're that. You took this and took it to. You got off the F train, you fell asleep, and you got off at 20 stops too far, and don't blame me.
Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think about all of this down in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. There's a lot more coming soon.